Episode 267, Smallholders. This is the Change Underground for the 9th of August 2021. I'm your host, John Moore. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil. We need a mindset change in this world. Too often we see death, destruction, disease and hopelessness. And I'm pretty sure we can all do better. Equally, I'm sure I know which way many of us can go. From the website Journey to Forever, quote, "Small family farms are the backbone of a community, a nation, and of a society as a whole. A landscape of family farms is settled, balanced and stable, and generally sustainable. It is the natural shape of society on the land. Such communities aggregate into strong and secure nations." End quote. Small family farms, of course, covers a multitude of options. Here's a quote from the Foster and Allen track, Boyle in the county of Roscommon. Quote, "My father owned an ass and a goat and an acre of land as well. My mother kept some hens and ducks and the eggs she used to sell." End quote. That describes the version of smallholding passed on down through my family. Maybe not an acre, a little more maybe, but the smaller end of things. These things came to me maternally from the Kingdom of Kerry and paternally from the People's Republic of Cork. The few acres idea seemed to settle on me early, but not to most of my siblings, strangely enough. The other extreme of the family farm idea is the 640 acre or 1 square mile property. Lots of them existed here in Australia prior to the get big or get out chemical paradigm. Now, of course, in between those extremes are an infinite number of possibilities. The key, I think, is the mindset. This includes, among other things, the inclusion of animals in production systems. Anything from guinea pigs to cattle can work. The principle behind this is the conversion of photosynthesized energy into meat, milk, fibre, hides and manures. Clearly the guinea pig example is purely for manure production in most places outside of Peru. If there's anyone out there milking these little creatures, I'd love to hear from you. Another rule of thumb for small holdings goes something like this. The smaller the land area, the more likely plants will provide the income. Now, previously I've lived on blocks from 2.2 up to 54 acres. The 2.2 acres was where I started on the gateway stock of poultry. Chooks, ducks and geese to be precise. After that I learned the gentle art of raising a potty calf, keeping sheep and dairy goats. Even the 54 acres really wasn't sufficient for keeping cattle, especially dairy in the regulatory environment we have here in Australia. I do know of a famous raw milk cheese maker from West Cork who made and continues to make a good living, who started off with one dairy beast. That a country allows raw milk cheese making does make a difference. On our current place, I've discovered the joys of pig keeping and the occasional whack from the electric fence that comes from keeping these beasts. We did try Wiltshire horn sheep, but couldn't keep the feed up to them on the 1.5 acres, and they were so bloody minded they didn't mind getting whacked by the electric fence, almost seemed to enjoy it as they went through it. So we've sold them on. We have chooks and ducks. We can't keep sufficient pigs to make a living from them, but they are there to bulk out our meat budget and, more importantly, to renovate and fertilise the pastures. We're growing raspberries, apples and pears, which came with the property, and I've added jostaberries, and looking to integrate strawberries this coming spring. And the main income-producing species, though, will be grasses, a particular type of grass known as cereals. This winter, test plots of wheat, barley, oats and spelt are providing data. The idea is to institute a modified Fukuoka-style grain production system and some post-harvest value adding. Value adding is the key to a smallholder's financial comfort. So the plan as she currently stands has moved on from the 5-year rotation to a 3-species Fukuoka rotation. Summer will be blue corn, specialty type, link in the show notes. This variety ripens into a cool, damp autumn, which is ideal for our location here in northwest Tasmania. Given the season we find ourselves in, depending upon the season we find ourselves in, buckwheat will follow the corn if we're going into an Indian summer. This may or may not be harvested, again depending on the season, and ducks and chooks will have access if I'm not harvesting. Into the buckwheat I'll sow spelt, which is by far and away the winner in this winter's trials. So let's look at what these three grains have in common. They are specialty types. The market will be smaller, but hopefully it will be a higher paying market. The corn and the buckwheat are also gluten-free, so that opens other possibilities. Breads might be an option, but to start with I'm looking at specialty pancake mixes. The wheat, barley and oats I'm growing at present I'll feed off to the pigs, ducks and chooks. With all this in mind, I could easily cover the fixed costs of the property, rates, electricity, fuel and internet basically. Anything over that is profit. The smallholder mentality then is experimentation, multiple income streams, duck eggs, pancakes, jams, cordials, leather fruits and on and on and on, and a sense of self-sufficiency and interconnection to community. And small holdings are productive. Again from the Journey to Forever site quote, "Sustainable farms are small, they're mixed. Mixed crops, mixed trees and mixed livestock, with all three mixed together in an integrated pattern that mimics natural biodiversity and reaps the benefits of collaborating with nature. The main benefit, of course, is health. Healthy soil, healthy crops and livestock and healthy yields, along with low input costs." I added that emphasis. This kind of farming is intense and needs close management, and since they're usually family farms, this is why they're small. A family can't manage a bigger farm properly. Anyway, there's no need to. Mixed family farms provide sustenance, food security and a healthy surplus for sale or barter. They far outproduce, on a unit area basis, I added that, they far outproduce the bigger mechanised farms. End quote. Now this seems counterintuitive when our mind's eye's vision of a productive farm is thousands of acres of corn or wheat. These, though, are monocultures, and a small holding is a polyculture. Things are interplanted, raspberries under apples, ducks amongst the early grain growth to cut back and strengthen it. Everything is interconnected. A complexity that brings, if not stability, a certain resilience. An ability to deal with differing seasonal patterns. And size is not the defining characteristic of a smallholder. Back in episode 245 we discussed Gabe Brown and his no-till chaos garden and his flexibility. If a winter crop doesn't die off under snow, he grazes it and then plants into its residue. A recipe book approach would have glyphosate sprayed on the surviving cover crop to ensure planting could occur as per the recipe. Now Gabe farms 5,000 acres, so he's probably not a smallholder. Yet the attitude and flexibility is what makes a smallholder. We need to grasp this flexibility, this test and react attitude. This is what makes smallholding a powerful way to live. Constantly paying attention to details, thinking, correcting courses, watching the weather, reading the soil, feeling the way the plants are growing and how animals are behaving, are all part of the life of a smallholder. And they are also the parts that bring the greatest satisfaction, especially for myself. Working with attempting to be one with nature is a never-ending story. Indeed, a journey to forever. But the rewards are in the process and the eating. And this can be done in a small garden on a backyard, an acre, a few acres even, or apparently 5,000 acres. So take heart, because it is the smallholders of this world who will get it done, who will suck carbon from the air and change the world for the better. We smallholders are, as ever, the last great hope for stability and resilience. So if you'd like to start your gardening adventure and lifetime of astonishing insights, go to the website worldorganicnews.com and click on the free ebook link. There's also a copy in the show notes to that link. The book's called The ChangeUnderground No-Dig Gardening System, and there's a few years' worth of experience and work in there for you. If you have any questions, thoughts or suggestions, or know anyone who's milking guinea pigs, there's the Change Underground podcast group over on Facebook. Just search over there, or there's also a link in the show notes and in the transcript over at worldorganicnews.com/episode 267. Decarbonise the air, recarbonise the soil, Thank you all for listening. I'll be back next week.